This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have a Miele washing machine that is not filling up with enough water, so it's not cleaning well and it's creating the intake drain light error. And just to show you the proper level, after you let it fill for about 5 minutes, if you open the door and you look in, the water should be just underneath that white filter handle. That would be ideal. That would be the exact right amount of water. If you don't get enough water, it could be you have a clogged fill valve filter, which is easy to clean, or you may need to replace the fill valve, which is pretty easy to do also. So this is the right amount. It should come up right underneath that filter handle. That would be perfect. If it's less than that, it could be that clogged. So if you turn it on and you have it filling, you should be able to hear it filling. And if you reach underneath the sink and you grab the fill valve, which is this white thing, you should be able to feel it vibrating. That means it is getting power, which is good. If it's not getting power, it could be that you have a flooded drip pan underneath your dishwasher. So what we're doing here is we turned off the water, we removed the fill line, and we're pulling out this rubber gasket, and that's going to allow us then to grab onto the filter, in the inline filter that goes between the water from the house just before it reaches the fill valve. And to check this, all you got to do is remove that rubber gasket, and then you're going to grab this plastic filter with a pair of pliers. There's even a little piece in there you can use it to grab with your pair of pliers. You're going to pull the filter towards you and twist a little bit. It'll come right out. And then you want to look at it and see if there's some debris that's accumulated over the years. Sometimes it's enough debris where it limits how much water can get in a given amount of time. So we're going to grab this, we're going to twist and pull, take a look at it. So it does look pretty occluded. It looks like some stuff is built up over time, and this will be really easy to fix because we can just brush it off with an old toothbrush and then run it underneath the water to get rid of all that stuff. We can put the filter back in and hook up the water line again and then test it to see if it does come up to just underneath that white filter handle. So I've put the brass piece back on, I got it tight. I'm going to put the water line on, get that tight, turn the water on, plug it in, and let it fill for about 5 minutes, and then I can test the level. And when I did it, after doing the cleaning, I still found that the water level was too low, so I'm going to go ahead now and replace the fill inlet fill valve, which is pretty easy to do. First, I turned off the water. I'm going to remove this incoming water line, and then I'll go ahead and take apart this old fill valve and replace it with a kind of a cheap generic one, but this $40 cheap generic one actually lasts a lot longer than the $220 Miele fill valve. So I actually like them better, and they're easy to put in. You can get them from Amazon. We'll put a link in the description below. But to get to it, you just remove these two Phillips head screws that are the case that's encompassing the inlet fill valve. We'll separate that, and then we're going to use a pair of pliers or vice grips to pull back on this plastic sleeve by about 10 to 12 inches, and the vice grips will help keep that sleeve back so that it can expose that blue water line. We want to get in there, and we're actually going to cut that line so we can put in a new fill valve. So you want to make sure your dishwasher is unplugged, and then we're going to cut the power line that's bringing power from the dishwasher to the fill valve. You can use some wire cutters. We're going to use something called dikes or diagonal pliers to cut it. And then we're going to go up probably about 8 to 10 inches on this water line, and we're going to cut it too. You could use a razor knife, would be fine. Just want to cut that to get the old valve off. A little water is going to come out. It's no problem. You put down a towel to be ready for it. So once you've cut that off, you've already cut the water line and you've cut the power. Then we're going to go ahead and add the new fill valve on. So now I'm using a pair of pliers to remove the old spring clamp that was helping to hold the hose on. And I'm using my knife to cut down the middle of this wire to separate the two wires. And then I'm going to strip the wire, and I'm going to, by about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to add some spade connectors that I got from the hardware store. I'm going to put them on and crimp them so they stay on nice and tight. That's going to bring power to the new fill valve. So here's the part, and this is a GE part. Again, we can get it from Amazon pretty cheap. You also want to get this brass elbow. I'll give you a link for that. And we're going to use some white Teflon tape, thread tape, to put over the brass elbow. And that's going to make it watertight as we put it into the new fill valve. So we're going to thread that in by hand, get it tight. And we're going to use pliers to turn it maybe one more full turn, really get it in there good. So it's important to use some kind of a Teflon thread tape so you get a watertight connection. So got that on there nice and tight. And now I'm just threading on the water line by hand, and then I'll use the pliers to get it a little bit tighter than hand tight. This is a compression fitting, so you don't have to use the Teflon tape on this part of it. It just, as you squeeze it, it compresses down and makes it watertight. So we've got the water line connected, and now we're going to grab this new fill valve and put it onto the old blue line that was bringing water from the fill valve to the dishwasher. We're going to first put on the spring clamp on the blue hose. And then we'll push the yellow fill valve into that blue hose. Get it all the way in there. And then we'll go ahead and put the spring clamp on there to hold it tight. Alright, so we're going to get that spring clamp right up near the end of that hose. Get it nice and tight. We're going to take off the vice grips to let that hose go in. We're using our crimping tool to crimp that spade connector onto one of the wires. And then we'll grab the other wire, and we're going to add we'll strip it first by about 1/4 inch, and we'll add the spade connector on, crimp that one. And then we can go ahead and put those spade connectors onto the new fill valve to bring it 110 volts when it's time for the water to fill. Get it on there, crimp it. But I'm also going to surround those metal spade connectors with electrical tape because I don't want them to touch anything metal underneath the sink, and they're kind of exposed at this point, and they will be carrying 110 volts. So I'm going to cover them up with electric tape and go ahead and put those spade connectors onto the new fill valve. It's really nice to do this procedure because you can just sit underneath the sink. It's really simple. Miele usually gives you some extra lines so you can pull that fill valve out where it's comfortable to work on. So I got those on now, and I'm going to go ahead and put these onto the male terminals, female spade connectors, get them on there really tight, and then I'll wrap that electrical tape around it. Goal there again is make sure there's no exposed metal on any of those electrical connections. I usually like to also take this and put a wood screw in to put it into the cabinet so that it's secured. So this is now testing it to see how it did on a water level. Looks good. So it's bringing it right up where we want it, right up underneath the filter handle. And that fixed our problem. pretty cheap, about 45 bucks probably with all the parts. I'm going to go ahead and clean these spray arms while I'm here. So I'll pull off the bottom one. See if I can get rid of any little things that are caught in the holes. On the top one, I'm going to push up on it and then turn to my left to loosen it and take it off. And then using a sharp tool, I'm going to go ahead and just check all these holes, make sure there's no clogs. Some of these have little things like maybe a piece of a label and just want to pull that stuff out and make sure all those holes are clear. After you do that, it's good to kind of shake the spray arm to shake loose stuff that might be caught in it, and you can run it underneath the sink so that water helps to carry out the debris, and then you can flip it over and let the water spill out. This is the bottom one. The bottom one also, on this model, it has a little cap that you can remove on the top, and it's reverse threaded, so when you, instead of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, it's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty to get it off. And once it's off, you can shake it around, work stuff loose, and then use the water to fill it and then carry things out. So I'm going to push some of the debris in there, and then I'll use the water to kind of get it out. But if these things are plugged, then when the water pressure goes up, they don't shoot out water, and the water can't have the mechanical action of cleaning the dishes. So it's really important that you keep these clear. I noticed when I came on the scene that the filter was not locked in, so a little food debris was sneaking down below the filter and being pushed up into the spray arms, and that's why they're all clogged up. Pretty common. So I'm putting water in, and then I'm going to flip it over and let the water carry out the debris. It just takes a few minutes to do this. It's something probably good to do once a month, and it makes a big difference on how well your dishwasher can clean. I'm banging it around to just work loose little pieces of glass or ceramic that might be caught in there. I put that cap back on. This is the lower one. Here's the upper one. There's actually one more spray arm even further up, all the way at the top of the dishwasher. So this one's actually more middle of the dishwasher. I'm just knocking loose anything that might be in there. So now we're going to put that middle spray arm back in. We're going to push it up, and as we push it up, we're going to turn to the right, and it'll thread back into position. You have to turn it maybe 3 times, and then you can let go and spin it and make sure it's going to spin okay. Check the filter, pull it up, and I'm going to open the basket, just peer in there, looks good. So we're going to put that back in and then make sure it's locked. So once it goes in, you want to turn the handle and then feel it lock, and then you shouldn't be able to pull it up. Bottom one's easy, just goes in, push it down, it's done. And we have a good dishwasher again. It's going to fill with the right amount of water. You can test it by putting a cup right side up, putting it in and letting it run for a few minutes to see if it'll fill up. Then you know you did it right. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for watching our video. We really appreciate your support. And when you get a chance, please press the subscribe button below so you can be subscribed, and also the notification bell so we can send you more videos about appliance repair. Please also give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. If you really liked the video and it really helped you, please press this new applaud button and you can show your support and also get a nice clapping hands for your video. Thanks again.